All right, Matteo's going to tell us a little story right here about how AWS fooled the devs and sabotaged the industry.
One way or another, we are all tied to Amazon, Google, or Microsoft, or GitHub, or whatever, okay, that are investing in some of our technologies and providing funds in various ways, okay? I'm not saying it's a direct thing, okay? But they have their own cloud products, okay? And they are pushing this down, okay? Now, the surge of serverless and a lot of other pay by millisecond thing, okay, pay by consume, okay, has made absolutely damaging for those companies to invest even one dime in performance, okay?
Love that take. I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone have serverless code and they're just like, oh, I don't care how it performs. You know why? Because it's serverless. It'll just go up and it'll just go down. Nobody cares. It's just going to go up. It's just going to go down. It's just like, oh, dear goodness. Okay? Because here's the deal is that I know a lot of people don't care about performance, but there is something about caring about your code in a deep way that if you don't have a thorough caring for it, including the performance side, I just think you write worse code. I just think you're just not in it to win it. You're just simply in it to make it done. And then after a while, that just leads to the worst choices, okay? You do design by Twitter choices. I want to see you getting after it. I want to see you actually making some good decisions here, okay?
Oh, fascinating. Oh my God, I've never heard this take. I mean, duh, it makes sense.
The incentive.
Yeah, it's like, we don't need your stuff to be slow. We don't need it to be fast. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we are paying us for compute.
You pay for more resources, okay? Look, I have even a hotter take than that.
Okay,
oh,
let's
please.
go.
Oh my God.
Yes.
This is all the hot takes.
We agree.
We are going. So AWS has gone so good length in trying to frame the narrative that to get more of your money, because you know Node.js is asynchronous, can run multiple requests at the same time with great speed, right?
I love Matteo. Matteo is awesome, but I do not believe that take. Continue on.
Right.
So,
despite what people who write Ruby or Python might tell you.
Okay, yeah, okay, got him. Okay, this just in, Node.js is better than Ruby. I am totally on your team that Node.js is probably better than Ruby. Can we get an amen? Can we get an amen in the chat? I believe it. I believe it. Okay, I'm not going to say anything negative about Python though, okay? Because Python, you can dip that little Python into C. Just dip that little Python right into C, and all of a sudden it gets fast, okay? So I'm not going to dunk on the Python, all right? Amen and Charut.
Yeah. So again, Ruby on Python runs one request at a time, okay? And we...
Is that true? That can't be true. Python has to, I would be just shook if that was the case, right? I would assume Django is some sort of, they just have some threads, right? And they have some set of real threads / green threads, and they just run it in the identical way, right? Python is single threaded, but I mean, so is Node. Node is no different. Yeah, they have Asyncio. Yeah, I've used Asyncio before. Django, you run with Celery, which does threading. Okay. I hate the names that Python comes up with. Just use Django with Celery. Duh! You're just like, what the hell did you just say to me? Boy, what the hell did you just say to my face hole? And it's just like, dude, duh. Everybody knows about Celery and Django combination. You use a little bit of Hugo on the side. You're just like, dude, I hate everything you have to say. But okay, so this is obviously, I think he's saying the default option is one at a time. Giving Matteo, because Matteo's very, very smart. And so I'd be shocked if he was saying that he thinks Python is purely single-threaded. He obviously knows that it's not purely single-threaded because he obviously knows a lot about these kind of things. It's just that they don't have an async primitive like JavaScript does, right? JavaScript, you have async await. It's very easy to do the multiprocessing correctly. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's easy to do the multiprocessing of requests easily. Python is purely single-threaded. I mean, JavaScript is purely single-threaded with a great manager. Python has async too. Okay, I didn't know that it has async. Does it have a wait and async and all that? I'd never use Python. Python is the language in which I wish I knew better, but I have no desire to learn it better. It's kind of like, it's kind of like when someone says, I'm going to go learn a language, and you're just like, yeah, I'd love to learn a language, but I don't really actually care. That's Python.
This is great. I love Ruby. I love Python.
Nobody's poo-pooing on those communities, but there's just a lot of poo-pooing on Node, which
right here, I will poo-poo on Ruby. Okay. Line me up, set them up. I will gladly knock them down. I will poo-poo all over.
I don't like.
Pee-pee, poo-poo, you name it.
You can do the same thing with those languages, by the way. You can run event-based computation on Ruby and Python. It doesn't matter, okay? It's the same logic, okay? So you have languages that are capable of running multiple requests, a lot of them, actually, thousands, on the same process. Most of our apps literally take some data from a database and send it out.
By the way, if you are running React, you cannot do 1,000 requests per second. Like, even the most simple React, you're going to be struggling getting 1,000 requests per second. Okay, you do a little server render of a quick body, little div, a couple divs in there, not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. Server-side rendering, React, it ain't fast. It ain't speedy. Okay? It's not going to be speedy, and that's okay. You don't use React to go fast. You use React to talk about it on Tech Twitter. We all know that. Okay? Okay, I know I shit on React all the time. I'm going to say one nice thing about React. React is attempting to continuously improve developer experience, and they're trying very hard to do a good job.
Okay, so when one database query is running, I can definitely send another one down the line because I'm not, my CPU and memory are basically idling there.
I'm trying. I tried.
So Node.js made a huge splash because it was asynchronous and it was able to handle thousands of concurrent requests from a single tiny node process. Even a tiny Raspberry Pi can run hundreds of concurrent requests on most things, okay?
That is if you're doing nothing, right? Like, I do think you need to qualify what does it mean to run all these requests. You can run thousands of requests if your endpoint just does a sleep timeout, right? A 1 second sleep. But what does it mean to actually do something? If you're doing any significant work in Node, that is where you actually start to fall apart, right? That is where things really start to fall apart. And every time you add in promise per request, it really genuinely slows down the system a huge amount. I'm not just blowing smoke. Here's a profile of an application we will be making faster on Front-End Masters, by the way. And look at this. Most of the time you'll notice is spent in idle. Why are we idling yet? When I add more requests, our whole thing slows down more. It's because the async stuff is actually terribly slow in Node. There's a whole thread on Twitters why it is, but you can't just simply keep inserting more and more asynchronicity into your Node application, assuming it's going to get faster. Bun.
AWS convinced everybody that running more than one request at a time per process was wrong. And
they actually did.
They have you pay per second even when that CPU is idle. This is AWS Lambda.
I mean, he's absolutely right. That has always been the craziest thing about serverless is that why... I mean, I get the idea, but the sheer notion of one request per process blows my mind, right? Like, the entire efficiency of Node is the fact that you can run a request through with a bunch of asynchronous or a concurrency to it, where even a pretty layman programmer can do it pretty successfully. Like, that's like the selling point of Node, is that it's simple. Is that it's not hard. We actually made a serverless Lambda, which waited for a database to respond. That was stupid of us. Yes, that is. It's the zero start off cost that sold everyone. Yeah. The layman, yeah. I mean, real talk. Node has done great things for the programming community. I don't want to crap on, or shall I say JavaScript V8, but also Node because Node makes it accessible, where people can build entire stacks in one language and learn how things work all the way up. It's usually not one request per process. It would be crazy, but that's kind of the thought process you have to go through. You're not thinking about scaling out something to live long term. You're thinking about just making it live a single request cycle, which is very, very different.
So if you use AWS Lambda, you are paying even if your CPU is literally doing nothing. And everybody is believing in this massive lie, essentially.
Whew, that is spicy.
Is a better model. It's better for them.
So I will, in defense of serverless, or shall I say Lambdas or any of these things, is that you also get the ability, if you write your program in such a way, you also get the ability to just kind of like move it anywhere it needs to be. And this is where all that edge computing and everything, this whole notion comes from, is that you can be able to go to any region and run it, which does, I mean, it can be better, and to write that type of infrastructure to have multi-regional support and all this kind of crap is actually really, really difficult. And it's not like you can you can't just simply do it with one person also building the UI. So there is an obvious cost benefit to creating an application that uses these tools because you don't have to hire somebody to actually run all of your infrastructure. So there is like a real win there, right? There is definitely a real win. Fly.io, yeah, exactly. Like Fly.io, ShuttleRS, like these are all companies that are trying to do the same thing. Even Vercel. Vercel's doing the exact same thing where they're just trying to make you like forget about infrastructure and hey, you will pay more, but you don't pay more because you don't have to hire someone because your idea doesn't really even have fruition yet, right? It's just barely starting. So it is good to think about that. In defense of serverless, you also have the ability to burn through investors' money faster. Yeah, I don't know if that's actually true, right? Like, real talk, is that actually true? Let's just say that you have two devs building an application, okay? Well, that's it. We're whipping it out. I actually want to hear that. I actually do want to hear this. Kaji, okay, hold on. We're bringing you up. You're getting on the big board. Defend this one. Defend your argument right here, because I want to hear why. It's time. We're doing this. We're doing this live. We're doing a little, I want to know about your thought process here. I'll wait. I'm fine waiting. I'm waiting for you. AWS gives you like 100K free credit to young startup. Did you just wait? Hold on. Are you agreeing with me now? Then the startup starts building a pipeline that is going to burn that in months. Okay. I see what you're saying. They play the long game. Okay. So let's go through this again. In defense of serverless, you have the ability to burn through your investors' money faster with hype. AWS gives you 100K of free credits to a young startup. Then the startup starts building a pipeline that is going to burn that in months. I mean, first off, you're making the greatest logical fallacy right off the rip, which is that startups have users, okay? We don't have users, okay? We go from 1 user to 2 users to 4 users over the course of multiple months, showing doubling in user growth, all right? Double, and then you double again, then you double again, okay? It's about growth. It's not about any absolute position. We don't talk about absolutes around here, okay? It's all about relative positioning. Second off, is this actually true? I mean, obviously, AWS wants to give you these free little bits because they want you to use them, because they know that if they can get you on it and you build an infrastructure around it, you will end up having to start using them without the credits. You're absolutely right on that. But I do want you to think about the other side of things for just a quick second, okay? Like, let's just be real for a quick second here. Wow, I'm in light mode. This is emotionally painful. Hold on. This is me trying to explain the difference between a 303 and a 302. If you don't know the difference, you are weak. All right. This is really painful, so let's go like this. Let's go into, where is dark mode? Dude, I never remember where, I swear dark mode is right here. Okay. Stop moving. All right. So this is how I kind of think about it, is that you have something like 2 devs, both obviously doing full stack HTMX, because you built a good startup, okay? And so this is going to cost you something like, if you do all the benefits, depending on how competitive your pay is, the fully loaded stuff, you also have to have management, software, all these different things that adhere to government, 6% social security tax, blah, 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 blah. So let's just say you're paying them 100K each because this is a startup and these are the founding devs and you're trying to pay each other so that way you can, not die. So really your fully loaded cost is going to be something like double that. So it's going to be about 400K. Now, if you were to be like, hey, I don't want to have to use serverless because I don't want to have to pay a lot of money in the end, we're going to have to hire a non-founding engineer, and we need to be able to pay him competitively. Therefore, you're going to have one infra-like dev, right? That's actually doing all these things. And that is going to cost all of a sudden a lot more because they're not getting all the stonks. Up here, your payment is in stonks, right? You're betting on the company. Down here, maybe less stonks, right? Maybe this person wants much less stonks. Again, fully loaded cost, care, all that crap that goes with it, cost more, right? And so they get less stonks, right? But this is very important to understand is that will your AWS cost something like $300,000 a year to begin with in your company that doesn't even have any actual users? My guess is no, it won't. So do I think that startups should use serverless? I actually think it's a pretty good starting point. But you want to build your application in such a way that when you need to actually go off of startup or out of startup mode, you can. Right? You don't want to build it in such a way that is just like fully relying on every last piece. I am a big fan of managed databases. That's why I love Terso. I'm a big fan of certain aspects of this because I think they're really, really good, but you got to be careful on exactly what you use. You got to set limits. You got to set alerts. You got to do all the things smart so you don't accidentally wake up to $100,000 spent in a single night because you actually did a recursive AWS call. You know what I mean? You got to be a bit smart. But serverless has heavy lock-in. It does and it doesn't, right? Some part of it is going to have to be how you write your code. If you write your code like it's going to be a single request per a single process per request, and you just ejaculate code in there, and you build everything around this notion of having zero state always, and every connection has to be built up for the first time ever, yeah, you're going to have problems transferring that into a full process. Maybe don't build it that way. Maybe think about things in a slightly longer term fashion.
Okay, it's, you need to know the trade-offs. Lambdas are great at low volume because they scale to zero and start very fast in generic scheme of thing. Try running a lot of lambdas and then check your AWS bill. Okay, this is going to be, you're going to be hit pretty heavily down if you have a lot of lambda calls because, or even worse, you know that there is a massive amount of limit of how many lambdas you can spawn on a single AWS account.
Oh,
I don't know if you know this, but
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
How many can you have simultaneously?
I think by default is 256.
Ah, the old 2 to the 8. Who doesn't like a little 2 to the 8 limitations? I think that is completely reasonable to make it a power of 2. This also isn't true. Is it not true? 256, by the way? I think it is 1,000 per account. Okay, it's 1,000 per account. It's closer to 10K to 100K. 2 to the 8, 100K, 1,000. It sounds like all of you are telling me different things. Checked that, but it is 1,000 per lambda. Okay, so it's 1,000. 420, 16.5 lambdas. That's probably the most accurate one. Am I at an auction? You are at an auction?
You can handle 256 concurrent requests. On the default account, you need to raise it.
Okay, so did you guys check to see that a default account? Because, I mean, he's talking about the very first entry into AWS. It can be raised. Okay, yeah, I know, but that's good to know, right? It's good to know that you have a default of some lower value. If you planned on scaling hard and all of a sudden you get hit with a, the correct answer is, I don't know. Yes, that is the correct answer. But real talk, like if you didn't know that there's this hard limit that exists somewhere, and you all of a sudden like drop your stuff on some sort of, whatever it is, product hunt, whatever, and you just get absolutely limited on how many requests you can make for a moment, like that won't reflect well, right? It's good. It prevents DDoS, cost attack. That's good. I mean, DDoS, the limit is important. I understand that. The only hard limit I know about AWS is the number of T3 instances you can have.
That's not great. Yeah.
And,
wow.
And if you run out, okay, then they start getting queued.
Wow.
And in the same time, you can, wait a second. I can spawn 10,000 lambdas. Okay. Wait a second. I can run 10,000 concurrent requests on a single machine on Fargate, and it's significantly better performant. But very interesting, they don't ship scale to zero on Fargate. Sorry, I'm just calling out the AWS bad market strategy to sabotage the industry, but that's to make more money, which is great for them.
I honestly, I do agree. I do like everything he had to say, even if the numbers were slightly inaccurate based on what chat's saying. That doesn't bother me, right? those kind of notions where like, hey, I like Matteo, but this isn't true. I mean, there is a lot of things that are true about what he's trying to say, which is like when you build your infrastructure around a very specific thing like this, it can cost a lot of money. How many articles have we read in which people simply get off some AWS Lambda calls and they reduce their monthly burn by like $30,000 a month? We've done several of these. It almost exclusively involves Elixir. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of a little bit like Elixir envious because I don't know Elixir, and every time I hear about Elixir, it's always with someone making a really great server, and maybe I'm wrong. Could I be the person that's wrong? No, the kids are the ones out of touch. And so maybe Elixir is a great thing to learn. I don't know. Sometimes you have to exaggerate to make them see the point. Yeah, so that's what damn kids, that's what I'm trying to like think about. Get out of here. That's right. Nightshade dude was so ready for you. Get him out of here. Get that Elixir shill out of here. But real talk, like just something I've been thinking more and more about, which is, you know, what is the cost of these things? Is it actually worth it? Is Tech Twitter really steering people in the right directions? Because at the end of the day, when you get past phase 0 to phase 1, is all of this things that you've built worth it? How many stories do we have to read where the company's literally spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because they went all in on a specific technology, and now the specific technology is really expensive? I don't know. It's just a good thing to know. It's a good thing to think about, and it is something that we should probably, you know, you should be a little bit more careful about, because it is totally not, you know, you got to be careful. And so I want to live in that way where I think about things a little bit more and I don't just promote something because it's easy. Do you know what I mean? The name is the Primeagen.